Today, we are making a video about one of my least favorite people in powerlifting. For those of you who don't know, this is Dr. Joel Jansen, an anesthesiologist and the #1 ranked Canadian male powerlifter of all time in both wraps and sleeves. He is also one of the most kind, genuine, and helpful people I've ever met, which is all the more reason to hate him. Now, Joel is an extremely good squatter and deadlifter, but what's holding him back from being in the conversation around the strongest male powerlifters in the entire world is his itty bitty bench press. Because when you got a guy squatting in the mid sevens and pulling in the high eights as a 181 or a 198, that's pretty freaking cool. But when that same guy can't bench 400, we kind of got a problem. Now, that bench isn't entirely Joel's fault because his training has been severely limited by some very nasty and very lingering triceps tendon pain for the last little while. And that's where I come in because Joel asked me to run his bench programming so that we could sort his elbows out and finally smack a big press PR. So, let's take a look at what we did to get him out of the elbow pain and what we're doing to keep that bench growing. Now, the first thing we got to do is look at what his bench used to look like because it wasn't good. See how soft and saggy his elbows are on the unrack? How pterodactyled in he is, totally avoiding the shit out of his pecs? And then he barely gets his elbows locked enough to ever get a rack command. All things that we really needed to sort out, but I started with his start position. And the first issue was figuring out whether or not he lacked the internal rotation necessary to use his pecs, or if he was just shying away from that internal rotation because his pecs were icky, icky, poop, poop. Lucky for us, it turned out to be a bit of both. So our movement prep away from training first focused on improving his ability to access internal rotation at the shoulder, as well as strengthen that subscap and serratus to support his ability to actually use that IR while he was bench pressing. We also had him doing about 10 million reps of band pushdowns and band curls every single day to start rebuilding tolerance at that elbow. But if you're a powerlifter, running fluffy drills for homework is only going to get you so far because if we want to lift big weights, we need to challenge ourselves in our ability to lift big weights. So I set him up with 2 bench days initially. One focused on building range of motion access, tissue tolerance, and control, and the other working to edge him closer and closer to actually being able to handle heavier weights. Joel loves edging jokes. For the range of motion and control day, I started him out with a floor press, which doesn't sound like it's very good for accessing range of motion. But because he had that floor underneath him, it let us start working to build more flare into his eccentric, and then he could use the floor to pull his tricep against to help get better connection to his lats. Over time, as his ability to control that position improved, we built it towards a regular close grip bench with a deliberate flare intent. On his main bench day, we started out with comp grip board work, not to overload the range of motion, but to allow us to handle heavier weights with less total stress on the elbow and triceps. We built that into full range sub max work and now are just starting to touch some closer to real max effort intent stuff. But the goal with his close max effort stuff isn't to hit an all out max, it's to gradually titrate up his ability to handle and control bigger and bigger presses. We supplemented all of that with triceps work designed to bring up the tolerances at his elbow. My go-tos here were a combination of rolling dumbbell extensions, Tate presses, and JM presses. 3 movements that can all be really gnarly on elbows, but the key thing here is that we started light enough that it didn't increase irritation. We ran the reps high enough that it got kind of hard, so we got a stimulus out of it, and then we made sure that we progressed over time at a rate that he could handle. And it did take a lot of time to get there, but he's finally at the point where his tricep work isn't embarrassing for me to watch. Last but not least, we selected specific accessories to build either range of motion, control, or strength where he needed it. For IR access and the strength to push out of it, we started with some modified range of motion push-ups and have progressed our way all the way to weighted dips. To touch that IR really specific to where he'll be in the bottom of the bench, we've been running a incline front raise with the intent of reaching for IR as he lowers the dumbbell to the bottom. To build his ability in using his lats and rear delts to manage flare as he's lowering the bar while still keeping his chest high, we're running a IR intent spread cable row, which sounds kind of stupid, but holy crap, guys, you need to try this. Because the lats are actually a internal rotator of the shoulder, so if we drive the index finger down as we're pulling wide, we get a shit ton of lat and upper back combination in the row, and it feels almost exactly like how I want my eccentric of my bench to be. And I think that about covers what we've gotten Joel to do. But I need to acknowledge the thing that's made this plan work as well as it has, and that is Joel being Joel. Because through this whole process, when his elbow was really dinged up, he was so patient and didn't overstep even once, which is what allowed him to continue building through the whole time. And even when things were going slower than he wanted them to, he wasn't in a rush, he trusted the process, and that's what has allowed him to get here. As long as we keep that up as we ramp into this meet prep, everyone down in Florida at King of the Platform is going to be in trouble, including myself. And if you guys need help with getting your shit together in the gym, whether that be figuring out your programming, dialing in your technique, addressing a weak point, or navigating your way back from an injury, hit that link below and sign up for Team Activated.